I am recording this webinar, and we will be sending a copy of the recording at the end of the webinar today to everybody who has registered and attended, and we just thank you again so much for joining us. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and let Dawn talk to Acumatica and introduce us to the Acumatica solution. Dawn, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our ISVs also for co-sponsoring this, and a warm welcome to our existing partners, prospective partners, customers, and those customers that might be interested in learning more about Acumatica. So just in general, Acumatica is a cloud-based ERP solution, and we're far different than any of the other options on the market today. We give you choices of how to deploy the software. We let you choose how to invest in it or subscribe to it. It's a very flexible solution. It's sold exclusively through partners, so we've got an excellent group of ISVs that extend the functionality of Acumatica, and of course our wonderful partners who help customers realize great business success by implementing Acumatica. So today, with what we're focused on, hopefully this is going to be a very informative session for everyone. We appreciate your attendance, and I'll let the other folks, I'll turn it back to you, Adrian, and everybody else can kind of do a little introduction as well.
Perfect. I'll just review the remaining 4 companies with us today. We have Artzel, and Artzel was established in 2002. They have 50 plus employees, and they really take the pain out of sales order processing by eliminating the need for manually indicating documents that come in to the company through email, fax, scan. Oftentimes, there's error-prone tasks, so it's that document handling solution that will digitize the documents. So sales orders are included in that solution. So we're going to review a little bit more about that. And then we have Scanco with us, and Scanco is a market share leader in warehouse management applications. They were established in 1989. And they have warehouse management and manufacturing solutions that integrate with Acumatica. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about the manufacturing side today, about how they can track labor and material throughout the production process, but also picking and packing in the warehouse with iOS, Android, and Windows devices. So Richard's going to be reviewing a little bit more about that. And we have Starship with us. Starship automates the shipping process. They've been around since 1989. They're a strategic UPS Ready partner, Gold FedEx compatible solution provider. They have a wide range of carriers, small parcel, regional, LTL, and they launched their Acumatica interface in 2016. But they've been doing this for a very long very long time, and they're a mid-market share leader with ERP integrations with Sage and Microsoft Dynamics. And we also have American Payment Solutions with us today. They're a full-service merchant services provider. They have an integration with Acumatica that allows you to get the best rate through level 3 credit card processing. So they take all that data in Acumatica and send it through level 3 so that as much information as possible goes to process the credit card and get the lowest rate with that information of the customer. And so a little bit about the workflow. It's just a visual. An order comes in through email, fax, scan, goes into, it's a document, it's just a manual document, but automatically Artzel will capture that data and send that data into Acumatica, where Scanco will pick up that information with iOS, Windows devices. And on that production floor, we're going to be talking about how they track the labor throughout the production. And then they also will automate the picking and packing of the package. And then Starship will take all the information that is sent back into Acumatica through Scanco and select the best carrier based on all the details of the shipment, where the customer is, what the price of the carrier is, so that all the rules of the shipment are followed, and that will send the information back into Acumatica, including tracking numbers, where if there's an e-commerce application or anything like that that's integrated with Acumatica, the customer can now self-serve and access those tracking numbers, or a customer service person can look all those tracking numbers up right in Acumatica. We'll also be able to send the tracking number via email back to the customer. And then American Payment Solutions will pick that information up. If credit card is the preferred form of payment and accounts receivable, we'll process that payment via credit card and get the lowest rate with all the shipment details, the customer location, all the details about the customer in Acumatica to get the lowest level 3 pricing. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Mark to talk about the Artzel digital solution. And Mark, I'm not sure if we're able to hear you.
Hey, I'm here. Thank
There
you for
you are.
having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, I was on mute. I apologize.
Perfect, loud and clear.
Yeah, so yeah, real quick, I know we've got other panelists on, so I'm going to try to be cautious of their time as well. Again, it's Mark Cook with Artzel Technologies. I'm just going to go through some overview slides so you have a background on us and what we do, and then also a very quick demo. So this is really high-level overview. So with that said, I'm just going to go through these slides fairly quickly, and again, we'll leave some time for question and answers. I won't go through the agenda because this is a little more detailed, but we'll go through the company overview. We've been around since 2002, 50 employees, US, Canada, and Ukraine, so we're a global company. The product called Doc Alpha, and today I'm going to be demoing Order Action. It can be done in different localizations. So if you're a manufacturing company, there's all kinds of languages: English, French, Spanish, German, Chinese. We've got several years of experience integrating into ERP, specifically to Acumatica. We are a partner-only network, so we're channel-oriented. We don't sell direct. We all go through partners. The flagship product is called Doc Alpha, but you'll also hear me talk about Order Action, and that's a pre-configured out-of-the-box application residing on Doc Alpha, and obviously 24-hour support around the clock globally. Just so you get an idea of what it's built on, we are in the cloud or we are on-premise. It's basically a .NET architecture. It can be in AWS, Azure, you name it. And again, it's really high level. We're the front end guys. We do the intelligent, advanced capture, classification, extraction, and then we can export it over to the ERP and Acumatica. Our really three out of the box applications are Invoice Action for invoice automation, Order Action, what we're going to talk about today for manufacturing, and then Claim Action, which doesn't really play a part in what we want to cover today. But those are all out of the box, pre-configured, ready to go. You can get those up and running very quickly because they've all been pre-configured. There would be some minor customization, but from there you go. We get it all configured. Why do we talk about automating sales order processing? Big efforts here are labor errors, manual errors, a lot of unstructured data, changes in the document types from document to document. You're getting them from different endpoints. We know the process well, and we can get a really quick ROI return on that by automating this whole process. Just some slides here from Aberdeen Group. Again, we can share these slides with you later. But the big pain here in the industry is trying to reduce those costs, especially if you have global manufacturing, multiple plants. That's the big pain point here that we're seeing, and that's how we're automating this through a smart automation process. Another one is obviously cash improvement, reducing the number of days outstanding. That seems to be the big pain point. Obviously, there's other pain points on here, but this just gives you an idea of what's happening out there based on what Aberdeen did on their survey. Also, you know, if you look at the people that are not really automated or just partially automated, you know, they're behind in terms of the technology, in terms of the you know, performance they're getting, their metrics. If you look at the people that may have automated to some degree, they're doing a little better, but still not great. You know, they're still outstanding past due. A lot of things are happening in terms of you know, their ledgers. Again, completing the work. So there's a lot of metrics here. But then when you come to the best in class, and these are usually the companies or the manufacturing companies that have automated this process, you know, you'll see their metrics are much, much better, much improved, especially in terms of days sales outstanding. So those are just some metrics here from Aberdeen, just to give you a sense of what's out there. To go into order action, just to give you a high level, what is it? And I'll bring this down for you. It's an out of the box, like I talked about earlier, basically a smart process that's based on order action. All you have to, you know, it comes built in with users, advanced capture, all the things you need, all the logic, the business logic to do it. All you need to add is the export connector to Acumatica, and then whatever professional services will be required to configure and go live. It comes with a complete set of capturing fields, you know, header, footer, line item. It's all packaged, ready to go. And again, it has a direct API integration into Acumatica. So it's out of the box. It isn't something you have to piecemeal put together. It's ready to get rolling. What else? And I have a diagram that goes through this a little better. It just talks about what we capture. You know, if you bring it in through a scanner, MFP, email, mobile, fax, whatever, we'll go out there. We'll know what they are, the orders, the quotes, the invoices. We'll do all the extraction. We'll do all the validation, matching. And we try to get, you know, 90% or greater straight through processing. And then obviously we'll post off to Acumatica. And the way this looks, I'll just bring up this diagram. This sort of says it all. If you look at this diagram and you go from left to right, it's straight through processing. You don't have to touch the document. It comes in, it gets captured. There's things that happen behind the scenes, image processing, classification, extraction, and then it's just delivered and exported out to Acumatica. So, you know, we like to see around a 90% straight through processing, but 10% of the time, something will have to go into verification. This means that it can't go to straight through processing because there's couple reasons. One, the OCR confidence that we've done on the documents or the sales orders, it isn't 100%. So you know, an operator has to look at those and correct it. Or there's some kind of a business rule that you have within the manufacturing company that has to be checked. It failed on a business rule. So this is the only area that you have to, you know, worry about in terms of someone interacting with Artzel's order action is the verification. So that gives you a good flow from left to right on how this all works. And with that, I'm just going to go in and show you a quick demo to give you an idea how this works. So let me just step out of that. Give me 1 second here. So what I'm going to bring up here is just a monitoring station. It monitors all the batches that come into Artzel. Again, these can be coming in via email, via a fax server, mobile, you name it, a hot folder, a watch folder. Doesn't matter where they are. They could be coming in off scanners. So this just tells me that a lot of these batches, let's say done at export, meant they went straight through processing. They're done. But there's a couple out here, say, waiting for verification. And those are the ones I'm going to work on. So I'm going to bring up one for you now. I'm going to go to my verification station. And what that does, it will bring up the verification station. Give that 1 second. I'm going to bring up a batch that's waiting. And I'm going to select that, okay. So what this will do, it's going to bring up the image to the right side. It's going to bring up all the detail that it extracted and classified on the left side. So I've got several sales orders out here, and it picked up all the header, detail, the line item, everything it needed to do. If you notice on these item numbers in the detail in the body of the table, there's some characters in it like a reddish, pinkish hue. That means they're suspect to OCR. They weren't 100% confident. If you go down to the next document, you'll see some business rule violations down below. Some of the information that was required wasn't found on the document. Now we can go out to a database and try to pull that in, or we can have our operator key it in or accept it. So there's different violations here. Some are OCR, some are business rules. So to clarify those up, I'm just going to run a wizard. So all the operator has to do, and they're going to get notified that they have a badge sitting out there in verification and they got to go work on it because it can't get released to Acumatica. So I'm going to go run a wizard, and this is an OCR verification wizard, which just tells me, hey, this is out there on the document and this wasn't extracted. Now, as an operator, I'm just going to go through these for time reasons. I'm just going to accept everything. And it's bringing me through every occurrence of where there is a suspected error. And again, some of these are not errors, they're just the confidence isn't 100%, so it wants that verification to be applied by the operator or the user of the system. So I'm just going through and just accepting all these things. And again, it's going to lead the operator to every item that has an issue, every document, and I'm just going to accept them. I can go here and change them if there was something wrong. I can go over here, override it. But for purposes here, I'm just going to allow this to go through. So it says the batch verification is complete. So I've corrected any OCR confidence. Now the next thing I need to do is I've got some business rule violations. You'll see down here, it's got some arithmetic rules. It may have some blocks that weren't captured because they weren't on the document. So it allows me to go in and do those. So I'm going to run another wizard, which just leads me through the verification. And it says that these things aren't there. Now I could go out to a database if I set up my database, pull these things in. If I don't, I can just accept them as is. And just for demo purposes, I'm going to just accept these. Same thing here. It's missing a fax number. It's missing, a table item number. And again, if we configured it to go out and look at a database to grab this from the vendor master file, we could do that as well. But in this case, I'm just accepting these things. The same with the ID here. I'm just accepting it. These are the business rules. Now here, I can go in and actually say, oh, what's going on here? Oh, there's no matching record found in the database. So I know I've got a problem there. The same with this. There's an arithmetic rule. I can go down here and just, the operator can just hone in on the amount. If it's not right, select it and go from there. And again, I'll just accept it, and I'm done. So basically, what the operator has done, they've done two things. They've got this batch notified to them through an email or some kind of an alert. They're going in there, they're correcting the OCR confidence. Because again, OCR is not 100%, but in this case, it was set at like 80%, so it fell below that threshold. They corrected that, and then based on the business rules that are all configurable, based on the companies, based on their business needs and rules, we just go in and correct those things. And at that point, we are done and we can just send it off to export. Once that's done, I can come over to Acumatica and I can see where those sales orders came in. So I'm going to bring up this one, and there's all the data that came in from Artzel into Acumatica. If I need to look at the image of that again, I can just pull up that sales order, and there we go. There it is. It's in Acumatica. It's ready to be, worked on from there. And that's really what I wanted to show you today, just to give you a really high-level look and feel of how Artzel works with documents and sales orders, all the way from capture to export over to Acumatica. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to the next panelist.
And Richard.
Hello. Let me just go ahead and pick my screen here. Hi, everybody. My name is Richard Kurtzer. I am from Scanco. So what we do We've actually been around since 1989. We're a leading provider of barcoding data collection for warehouse management and manufacturing. So we started on a couple other ERP platforms, and we've been growing very strongly in Acumatica, especially since they brought me on board, and I've been able to dedicate myself full time to this. So our agenda today, we're going to do a quick overview of both Scanco Warehouse for Acumatica, as well as manufacturing. And in a little bit of a change up, I'm actually going to start with manufacturing. So let's go over to that slide. The way we work is we actually interface directly with Acumatica manufacturing module, which you may know under its previous name of JAMS. So we scan, collect, and validate all data via barcode, 1D or 2D, and we let you do your material issues, your labor entry, your production entries, field service, and time card. And we have, importantly, an online and offline mode. So our system will dynamically let you work between online and offline, depending on Wi-Fi or cellular data conditions wherever you're working. A little bit about the hardware I'm going to be using to demo today. I'm going to be using the Cognex handheld scanner. This is actually just a big rugged housing with an iPhone inside of it. You could do it with an iPhone or an Android. I just usually prefer iPhone because the screen mirroring is really good. But this gives you the ruggedization, 2D scanning support, and the pistol grip with an extra battery in it. So this turns an iPhone or a Galaxy device into a very, very practical scanner. So let's just get my Acumatica going. And I have my mirroring here as well. So let's go back to my home screen here. So as you can see, to show you a little bit where this is coming from, I am literally on an iPhone right now. So I'm just going to go back into my XScan application. And here I am on the shop floor. So what we do is we take those transactions that you'd normally do in your manufacturing dashboard, and we bring them onto the handheld so that somebody on the floor can get through them very quickly. So let's start making something. Let's do a material issue. So I click into material issue, and then I can start. There's a couple different ways that we let you actually do transaction. So of course, any one of these data entry fields, you could key in a value if you wanted to, or you could do a lookup right here. So I hit the lookup, it's going to show me my available production numbers, or I could do it from a barcode. So let's wait for my scanner to start back up. Do this one with a lookup. So once I've picked my production number, I can look at which items are needed on this item. So right now I have to issue a motherboard and a CPU to make my computer. So I'm going to select that first item there. So now you see I have my production number, my item number, description, unit of measure, the type of transaction, so I'm doing an issue, my bin location, and you can see I have 19 on hand, I need 1, so I'm going to go ahead and search for a bin that has them, pick that bin, issue that 1, hit return, and now that transaction is done. That material has been issued, it's in the work center, and it'll reflect in Acumatica. So if I click back over to production management, enter materials, and go to my latest transaction, you're going to see there's my production number, there's the item, there's my warehouse, how many I've issued, the costs. It goes right into the system. And to just give you an idea how that would look with a barcode, let's clear that all out there. Grabs that in there. It's the same sort of steps from there. I could either do that off of a pick sheet or a manufacturing traveler, pick my bin. Got a couple different locations that have stock there. Still going to enter my 1. Done. So one important thing, I mentioned online and offline mode. The system will actually tell you when it's online or offline. You have a little light bulb icon in the upper right-hand corner that indicates you're online. Also, this little pencil icon right here lets you show transactions depending on how you've been doing them. Next step in the process is actually getting somebody to do the labor to build that thing. So I can go over to labor entry. So first thing I can do, I can either do a lookup or just scan my employee badge, pick the production number I'm working on. Oop, hit the wrong barcode there. There's my employee number, production number. There's the shift I'm working on, and then I can track in to my shift. Once I'm tracked in for labor, been working for a while, it's time to do a production entry. I've made something, I want to complete it. So go ahead and look up what I'm doing. Been working on the laptop still. You could see that there's the bill of materials and the project warehouse. Select. So I can then complete that, grab a bin location that I want to complete to. Let's go to row 1, shelf 3. And I've only been working here a little bit of time, so I'm only going to complete 1, and that's done. So I've showed you a material issue, labor entry, and a production entry, and I'm just going to pop back to Acumatica for a second and show you where that gets you. So production management, the materials corresponds to that material issue, and that move that would correspond right here, AM laptop to the production entry. So now that's going to be in row 1, shelf 3, ready for me to ship, ready for that to go out the door as part of a customer order. And I know not everybody's going to be working in unit of measures of eaches. We do, allow for variable length product if you're doing, say clothing, knitwear, lumber, piping, whatever you need to make. We can handle the units of measure that are handled within Acumatica. So, and if you have any questions, feel free to use the raise hand button or save them for the end, and we'll come back and answer them. I'm going to switch over to distribution. And as you can see, my software for distribution lives happily on the same handheld. So if you're outfitting hardware for your own warehouse and manufacturing or a customer, and you need, say, 5 of each, you can use the same pool of hardware for everything. You can have 1 spare or 2 spares. That'll cover everybody. And in our customer portal, I'm not sure we'll have time to get into that today, but you're going to have the option to activate and deactivate the devices, manage user accounts, manage device accounts, because we have multiple layers of security there. But just to show you kind of from the top here, I'm going to go ahead and log off. Beginning of the day, I'm just going to put in my employee number and my password. So once I'm logged in, it shows my employee profile, the company code that I'm working in, and then I can pick which warehouse I'm working in as my main warehouse. Because we do support multiple physical warehouses, not just as where I'm doing my work, but if you need to transfer between stuff, we support that directly. So let's start at the beginning of the day. Let's receive something. So I'm going to do a purchase order receipt by order. Let's go ahead and just do a lookup. I'm going to see what I have open in my system right now. Got a couple orders open, but I actually am going to go and create something fresh and new for everybody here. Let's just go over to the distribution module here in Acumatica. One of the things I love about Acumatica, even on the older interface here, we're going to be switching over to 2017 R2, excuse me, on our demo system pretty quickly. But I can just copy and paste an order and get it into my system very quickly. So I'm going to set the promise date on that one for November. Take it off hold and save it. So now I've got my purchase order number 368. And let's just go ahead and do a lookup. And there's my PO number 368. So normally you'd be working off of a pick ticket. As you can see, all the info for a PO is in the system, and I happen to have my barcodes here. So I'm going to go ahead and pick my first number or my first item. So I've got my Lego set. It's the first line. I'm shipping it in eaches. And just to let you know, we do support case quantity barcodes. So if you say had these Lego sets set up with the case quantity, you could also scan barcodes that way. It'll support really whatever unit of measure you have set up in the system. Second line on the order is going to be the baby products. Done. Got 5 of those. And then last but not least, five of those. So I've picked my 5 lines off I've received my 5 lines. Now there are 2 different ways I could go. I could either keep receiving different purchase orders, keep executing transactions, or I could send everything back to Acumatica. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to hit the send button up here. And now all that information has flowed up to Acumatica. That purchase order has been received. Our system is configured to allow it to just immediately release. That's up to you during configuration to if you need somebody to approve it. But right now you can see I haven't refreshed yet, 0 on receipts. Let's just go ahead and reload that. Want the last record there. That'll be back up in a couple seconds, but once it's received, you'll see you have the orders on the receipts. It'll reflect in the system, and you're ready to go ahead and ship that item out on an order. So let's say I wanted to transfer something. I've received a bunch of stuff into my receiving bin, and I want to move that into another location. So I want to transfer from my wholesale warehouse, and this is actually where you would pick your destination warehouse if you have multiple physical locations if you wanted to transfer somewhere else. And let's go ahead and pick a part number. So right now, there's my laptop board. And since I don't know where that stuff is right now, I'm actually going to hit return and do a lookup for a source bin. Let's see what I have and where. So I got 11 of them in row 1, shelf 1, and none of them anywhere else. So let's just go with row 1, shelf 1. My destination bin. I'm going to just move one to shelf 2. And I could either just enter a quantity that I want to transfer, or I could turn on scan eaches and scan eaches. And I showed you the send button before. I'm going to show you that other button up there right now. So one of the nice things we enable is we give you a chance before you send stuff up to Acumatica to review the transaction. So you've seen me do the transfer. Let's say I changed my mind. I don't want to actually go through with that, or I hit the wrong quantity or the wrong location. I can hit action, delete, and that'll actually clear out that specific transaction, or you could clear the entire queue if you wanted, if you decided to. But this is a nice, call it an undo. If somebody makes a typo in the warehouse, they can go back and fix that transaction before it hits your ERP. So we've done our purchase order. We've done a transfer. Let's go over to physical count. This is, of course, an important one. We all want to make sure that inventory is going to remain as perfect as possible. And the way we do that is by going right into the physical count system on Acumatica and bringing it directly into the handheld. We don't vary that at all. So I have my count number down here at number 16. And let's go back to the handheld. That is my currently only active count number right now. So let's pick, what do I want to count? Let's go with my widget, number 2. And what bin am I counting in? Well, this specific count is actually restricted to row 1, shelf 1, so that's going to stay in there. And I'm just going to count one of those. Now, this is actually where serialized numbers come in for us. Bear with me for just a second. So one of the nice things that we do is that we handle all the serial and lot control functionality that Acumatica does. So we can force you to scan the serial number, force you to scan the lot number. So let's go ahead and grab one of those. So we've scanned that serial number, and you could go down the shelf. If you said you needed to pick 5, you just scan the relevant serial numbers while you're within that item. It's a great way to count a large number of serialized items and do it accurately. So I've sent that up, serial number 699. So let's go further down my list here. as we, and give that a second to refresh, but as you see excuse me, it'll show the physical quantity, the variance quantity, it'll make sure the count is correct, and then you can move on from there. Last but not least, actually there's a couple more things I'm going to show after this, but sales order would be another item, another big one. So we take the released order from Acumatica and then we create the shipment for that. So you just go and pick your sales order number. Let's go ahead and ship a line off of this order. So I have my sales order number, my customer, my warehouse, and then I get to pick what items are on there. As you can see, we have full lookup capability available. So I can go ahead and, even off of this lookup, pick the first item off of there, pick which location I'm picking out of. Oops, just hit return there, bring up my screen, and we're going to ship out of row 1, shelf 1. Got 100 of those going out. It's a big order. And let's say I wanted to partial this. If for example, the other 2 lines were out of stock, you know, the other baby products are out, and ABC Studios just has to have those Lego sets right now, I can just ship the 1 line, do the partial, and the system will be just fine. So if I send that, it's going to do the partial. A couple other little utilities I wanted to show you on there. We have a couple different ways of doing item locator. So if I do item locator by bin, for example, pick a bin. I just want to see what's in row 1, shelf 3. So there's only a little bit of stuff in there. Let's go back and pick a bin that's got more stuff in it, just to give you a little idea of how some of this works. So I got plenty in row 1, shelf 1. So if you're looking for something specific and you pick a bin that's got the kitchen sink in it, it's going to be a little cumbersome to scroll through all of this. But the way we deal with that is we actually give you the ability to filter by item. So if I want to go through here, if I hit enter, I'll get the list of items. If I just want to see that item, it'll show me how many are available, how many on hand. Same thing if you pick a serialized item. Let's go in and do that. I'll do locator by item this time. So we counted those widget 2s before. Let's go ahead and filter WID widget 02. And now it'll show me where all of them are, as well as the associated serial number. So there's a lot of power in the handheld in terms of looking up where you are, looking for items, as well as actually executing all those transactions. That pretty much covers it for what's on the handheld. I'd be happy to get into more depth with anybody offline, but that pretty much wraps it up in terms of the basic overview of what we're doing on the handhelds. And part of the reason I like it, part of the reason that it goes sort of quick to do a demo is that this is designed so that you could put these tools in the hands of anybody on your warehouse floor or manufacturing floor. And if they're reasonably familiar with an iPhone or an Android, because they probably have one, they'll be able to get up and running on this stuff, within a day or 2. It's a very, very easy learning curve. Once they got the process down, the interface makes it very simple. So thank you.
Hey guys, it's Caroline. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Thank you, Caroline.
Okay, awesome, thanks. So I'm going to show you Starship today. Once you've been able to do all the manufacturing process and brought in the orders, obviously you're going to want to ship them out. And this is where Starship comes into play. Starship's going to take the place of a UPS WorldShip or FedEx Ship Manager solution that you might be using outside of Acumatica today. Or even if you are using the Acumatica shipping and just need some additional enhancements, Starship can also help there. So on the Starship side, we're just going to bring in an Acumatica shipment. We're going to translate the fields, bring in items, associate those to various shipping pieces to help automate the shipping process. So when I bring in this Acumatica shipment here, you'll see that in the left-hand box, just an overview of the information that came in as far as from a shipment header perspective. So the ship via was translated as UPS expedited here. This is going to be a Canadian shipment, so it's an international shipment. And if I drill down below and see my packages, I can expand this to look at the items that were on this shipment. And if I drill into any one of my items, you'll see here that I do have my international data that's associated to that item. This can help with the completion of the international docs. And then also if you are using any of the electronic trade documents with the various carriers, Starship will upload all that information to help automate that workflow. I can run a rate shop from here. Starship's going to go out to all the available carriers I have licensed in the application and come back with my options. I can sort these options, or maybe I just want to look at the delivery, sort by that, and take a look and see what I'm set to here. UPS Worldwide Expedited, it's getting in Thursday at 11:30, but it looks like I have a FedEx Ground option here that can get there just slightly later, but for quite a bit less, so maybe I want to select that. I'm doing this as a manual process, but Starship also has something called ship via rules that can automate this workflow. So it happens behind the scenes, and Starship can select the appropriate carrier and service based on your parameters. So to process this shipment, I'm going to click on this button or hit F5. Starship's going to communicate out to the carrier, create the barcoded shipping labels, any international docs, and also update Acumatica in real time. This is an example of our smart label. It's a combination shipping label plus packing list on 8.5 by 11, where there's a little 4 by 6 inch die cut area here. Starship also supports printing both of these labels out to a thermal label printer. So if you want to take advantage of the carrier supplied labels, you can do that, still get the packing list out. Or if you simply just want to get the shipping label, you can do that. In addition, because this was an international shipment, you'll see that the commercial invoice is going to be coming out. This is going to be, we're going to utilize the Acumatica data to help obviously complete this document. So header level information is going to be primarily in the top level of this document. You'll see the PO number, the invoice/order number all coming into the commercial invoice here. And then the line item information will then be used to fill out the description of goods. And in this case, it was going out to Canada, so this is a NAFTA CO. We also support, obviously, the standard CO. And there's a few other international docs that can also print if you have them enabled, documents like the shipper's letter of instruction. So once we process the shipment, I just want to go back into Acumatica and take a look at that and see how that was updated. So this was a shipment that we just processed. When we look at our packages, you'll see here that there's my tracking information for this particular shipment. On my shipping settings, notice that we've updated both the ship via, so it's been updated to FedEx Ground here. The freight cost, this is going to be the negotiated rate that you have with the carrier, and this freight amount is the freight charge that you're charging your customer. Starship does have something called freight rules, where you can set the rules as far as how you want the freight amount to be calculated. And that can include calculations on how the amount is actually generated, as well as when it's applied. So if you want to create parameters around your Acumatica field, so for example, you don't want to write freight back when the order is over a certain dollar amount, you can do things like that. In addition to those fields, you can update the status to confirmed if you have that set. And then you can also update the notes here with some shipment detail. And as Adrian had mentioned earlier, Starship can also generate that email notification for you. So if we log in here, I'm just going to take a look at that email that was generated. So this is the email that Starship generates as a result. So instead of using the carrier supplied emails that have their branding, you can actually brand it to your own company. You can include some additional granularity about the shipment, so all the item information that you have going out on this shipment. And then also you can send them back to your site for special promos. Starship does support an unlimited number of templates, and you can put rules around these email templates so you can have a different look and feel based on different circumstances. Okay, so that was it. All I had on the Starship side. I'm going to pass it over to Patty so she can talk about how you can get paid on these orders.
Thank you, Caroline. And while we're getting my screen ready, just wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. There are many familiar names. It was really nice to meet a lot of you at the Acumatica R2 Roadshow. I wanted to just start briefly by setting a quick foundation here. It's very important for American Payment Solutions to teach our merchants how to fully understand a merchant statement. The reason for that is that we want to make sure that our merchants are taking advantage of any programs that are in place by the card brands or the banks themselves, and basically have transparency when it comes to providing our rates and fees and showing them exactly how much we're going to be making off of their account. Just the same as Acumatica, we are 100% partner-centric, which truly separates us from other processors who tend to contact and more like aggravate the merchant by calling them directly multiple times a day. So what you see on the screen are the different rate structures. I'm happy to explain them in further detail through a one-on-one presentation, but it's important that you know, if you go with flat or tiered pricing, you are missing out on any of the card brands programs that can lower your rate potentially in half, if not even more than half. Did you know that a lot of the information that's being pulled in by ArtSale, Scanco, and Starship can help you lower your rate? I will explain why in just a few seconds, but before I do so, let me just mention to you that there are a lot of individuals that tend to prefer Authorize.net for processing purposes. You are missing out on potential savings through level 3 processing integrated with Acumatica. And I'll show you what those savings are, but aside from the level 3, you have to go to 3 different companies to find out where an issue came from and who's going to resolve it. That would be the gateway provider, the ERP, and then Authorize.net. If you process directly with American Payment Solutions integrated with Acumatica, you go to one source, American Payment Solutions, we resolve the issue, and you have to worry about nothing else. Aside from that, there are fees that are in place by Authorize.net that are completely waived through American Payment Solutions. So I mentioned level 3 to you. Level 3 is a program put in place by Visa and MasterCard that will allow any U.S.-based company that processes business-to-business or business-to-government transactions to lower their rate almost in half. So let's just say, for example, your standard rate is 2.85. The rate can go as low as 1.65. And depending on the volume of the account, the rate can actually go down to 0.05%. You heard that correctly. The fields that you see pointed out on the right of the screen are required by Visa and MasterCard in order to lower your rate. Most of these fields, as you can see, come from ArtSale, Scanco, and Starship. They come from Acumatica. We've actually automated the process to the point where you will process your transaction as any other, and we will take all of these fields from your ERP system, Acumatica, and thanks to ArtSale, Scanco, and Starship, we'll be able to deliver them to Visa and MasterCard on your behalf, guaranteeing the best rate available. What are the results of level 3 processing? This is just a sample here. Notice how it's an average of about $17,000 a year. Yes, we can save you up to 30% or more monthly. And this is as simple as processing through level 3. Now let's jump right into processing credit card transactions within Acumatica. Now in Acumatica, it's very simple. If you go to finance and customer payment methods, we allow you to create and store as many credit cards per customer. Now we do not allow you to store the full card number. This is due to PCI compliance. We actually tokenize the information and store it in our secure vault. American Payment Solutions provides free assistance with PCI compliance. There is no charge for module installation, implementation, training, maintenance, or support. So all of the information that you start entering here, you will be able to take advantage of through your order entry, as well as accounts receivable invoicing, and you can process pre-authorizations as well as captures directly on the sales order level. You can also process in batches. You can set up repetitive invoices, and there's a new feature that's going to be released before the end of the year, which is called Click to Pay Now. This feature will allow you to send an email out to your customers with the PDF of your invoice. Your customer will be able to click on that PDF and have a Pay Now button available. They can click on that Pay Now button, and the customer will now be able to enter their own credit card information. Now, all of this will be updated back into Acumatica for you, so you will not have to rekey in any of that information. And you can see we also allow for ACH processing. So I have credit cards and ACH enabled for this particular customer. You can set up a default credit card, and depending on Acumatica security settings, you can also limit the user to only edit a card, delete a card, none of the above, only to view a card, or add cards on the fly. So all of the information that I was able to enter in finance or through finance, customer payment methods, I can also enter within sales order. Now, the advantage of processing through Acumatica, because you can also process through the APS Pays payment portal, the advantage if you process through Acumatica is the fact that you don't have to rekey in any of the information that's already available to you from Acumatica, such as, for example, the inventory items. You won't have to key them in because you have them available through Acumatica. The customer information is already there for you. And then if you've already preset the unit of measure, etc., that will be there for you as well. Now remember, I mentioned that you can process pre-authorizations or direct captures right within the sales order level. You can see this is standard Acumatica functionality. Now in payment settings, you can choose a default credit card, enter a brand new credit card on the fly, or just choose from a list depending on what your customer wants you to use. It's very simple. If you want to just choose from the list, notice how the information is pre-filled for you. And now you have options as far as authorizing the payment, etc. And in my case, I totally forgot to save my order, so I have to save it. And now the buttons become available for me. So as I mentioned, you can pre-authorize or capture. I'm going to go ahead and pre-authorize. What happens when I click this button is the transaction actually goes through our gateway. We verify the information you are entering is a match. If it is a match, we will confirm the authorization by giving you a pre-authorization number. And this pre-authorization number will follow the transaction for the life of the transaction. We will also give you an audit trail of what's going on with your transaction. And then through the payment portal, you'll be able to see exactly where in the process your transaction is. We also allow you to set up for auto batching each night, and if you batch out by 9 p.m. Eastern time, you will have the funds available in your bank account the next morning by 8 a.m. We set you up to auto batch, and the batch report can be delivered to multiple recipients. Here's our transaction. Notice how we will show you your sales order number, a quick bird's eye view of the transaction, and the transaction ID that's following in Acumatica. The level of detail we provide is immense here, so we go down to the line level detail, not just the customer information and card information, but your inventory items that are listed on the invoice. Now this is a small overview of what exactly American Payment Solutions can provide. Aside from that, you can see that we also offer simple gateway fees. We guarantee our rates in writing. We offer 24/7 live support. I'd like to underline that. And we help with your cancellation fees. Many other benefits are available. I do want to make sure that I give everybody enough time for questions. So, Adrian, I'd like to hand it back over to you.
Thank you, Patty. I'm going to go ahead and flash up the contact information for all of the panelists today while we're reviewing the questions here. So let me just show that real quick. Oh, I'll make myself presenter. There we go. All right, so we have a few questions, and I do have a poll I'd like to launch too while we're announcing the questions. So I have a poll up on the screen. If you could just take a second to answer that if you're interested in learning more about the Acumatica Partner Program, more about the intelligent data capture with Artzel. or integrated manufacturing labor material tracking, pick and pack with ScanCo, or integrated shipping automation, or level 3 credit card processing. Let's see here. We have a question from Art. Art, thank you so much for your question. Does Artzel also capture AP bills invoice similar to the PO sales orders that were shown? And that's for you, Mark?
Yeah, this is Mark. So we have another out-of-the-box application called Invoice Action, which does all AP automation on invoices, delivery receipts, any kind of, supplementary type documents. But it's designed for AP automation and works on header, footer, line item detail for invoices. I hope that answers it.
And let's see, we have another question from Art. Art, thank you. Does APS provide a test environment that partners can use on their own demo sites?
Absolutely, we definitely do, and we also help with installing and setting up, as well as training you and your team with our demo system.
And Dawn, I noticed that we have some folks that might be on other ERP systems that are a little bit older. Can you tell us a little about the more about the advantages of going to Acumatica and also of representing Acumatica as an ERP in a partner's portfolio?
Okay, so the advantages of going to Acumatica from a legacy system, there are many. I mean, first of all, it's newer technology. Second of all, it's a true cloud-based solution. So what that means is you can, if you choose to deploy it in a cloud model, you can eliminate the IT infrastructure, you can avoid hardware, the updates and upgrades are applied for you. There are a lot of things that are cost savings areas. The other thing, ours is a true mobile solution, so you can pick up any device, anywhere, anytime, as long as you've got an internet connection. It could be a Mac, a PC, a tablet, a phone, smartphone. You don't have to have any middleware. You don't have to download anything. It's constantly accessible to you. It's a productivity tool that we don't price by user. So we have this philosophy. We don't want to penalize our customers when they grow or when they need to add additional users. So that's something very unique about Acumatica. From a partner's perspective, why would you want to represent Acumatica? First and foremost, I would say, is the fact that we do not sell anything direct. We feel like the customer experience is enhanced by working with a local partner that can come and see them or really knows more intimately about their company. We don't have fees to join the program. We believe in really well-trained partners, so the training is free as well. We've tried to anticipate everything a new partner could possibly need to ramp up on a new product and provide that with you packaged in an enablement process that you would go through. We give our partners free support, and as you can see, we have from the folks that we're presenting today, thank you all, appreciate that. You can see we have some great solutions that are integrated as well. So I could talk on this topic for about an hour, but I'll make sure that there's time for other questions if there are any.
And Dawn, just on the outside looking in, this is Adrienne. I've noticed that you have a lot of demand for Acumatica. And I'm just wondering what requirements you have for a new partner that might come on board. Are there strict requirements, and what do they look like? Are they CPAs, or are they representing other ERP systems generally? What are you looking for in a new partner?
What we're looking for in a partner is somebody that has experience selling and supporting ERP solutions and has a track record of being able to create happy, satisfied customers. We're looking for partners that really want to embrace the subscription model. We're looking for partners that some partners bring development skills to the table, but that's not necessary. we have just recently started signing up even more CPAs than normal, because CPAs with technology practices, they're looking for something new and modern and not a legacy solution. So we are really the fastest growing cloud ERP solution on the market because of our partner friendliness, because of our technology, because of the product, because of the interest from customers. Because honestly, why change ERP systems and go through the pain of doing that unless you're gaining tremendous benefit? And usually that's not gained by, you know, a legacy product that can just be hosted in the cloud. That actually adds complexity. So in Acumatica's circumstance, true cloud solution, priced appropriately for the mid-market. So we're not trying to be an enterprise solution. We're not trying to compete with QuickBooks, for instance. But if you have customers that are looking for a cloud solution, Acumatica is a perfect complement to what you might be selling already or the customers that you're supporting right now. I've had so many partners say, this is like a breath of fresh air. You've made selling ERP fun again. I'm now excited. I feel good about selling a product. And when you have people in your base that want to migrate, Acumatica could be a very fine consideration for them. Keep the lights on with your existing customers. And then as they have different needs, you have a solution for them as well.
And I noticed that we're 3 minutes over, and I just wanted to thank the audience so much for joining us today. And we do have a couple other questions, but we're going to answer those offline. And we just, again, thank you so much. We do have 43% of the audience that has voted, and it would be awesome if we could get that a little bit more answers to these questions. That would be awesome. So I'm going to leave that up there for another minute or so, and then I'm going to flash the contact information, and then just thank you so much again for joining us. And then so
thank you very much. We really appreciate everybody who presented. Thanks for everybody who attended. We'll be looking forward to following up with anybody that has questions, and great job today, everyone.
And thank you, Don. And we did get quite a few answers here, and it looks like 50% of the audience is interested in learning more about all the different solutions, and they could have clicked on any one or a combination of these line items here. And just a reminder, 43% of the audience voted. And we just hope to see you on our next webinar. That will be coming up. We're going to be talking about purchase order and forecasting customer demand. That's with Easy Stock. So be on the lookout for that invitation. We are sending our invitation this Thursday for that webinar, and we welcome you on that webinar. And thanks again, everybody, for your presentation. Excellent presentations.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.